This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com with a daily combat sports news update. With the ratings being in now, AEW Dynamite last night for their big 1-year anniversary show did a 0.31 rating. I think about a year ago for their very first show, I think they were in the 0.6s. I should have checked that up before I started this, but I'm pretty sure they were in the 0.6 for their very first show. So they got a 0.31, and NXT did a 0.16. Once again, I don't know how Vince McMahon isn't just thoroughly embarrassed and humiliated enough to replace Triple H as being in charge of NXT, because they're just getting spanked week after week. I would be humiliated if I was Vince McMahon and Chris Jericho and Dr. Luther. I saw some of that match. By the way, it's on Daily Motion. And the only reason I watched part of it was because one of my friends, Max, an old videographer of mine, said, "You got to watch this. It's so bad." It's it looks so phony and fake. Dr. Luther is almost slow motion. Just two big, fat, out of shape guys. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. As far as Sylvain Grenier, I've been wondering on here, why wasn't he fired from WWE as a producer? Because his name never came up in the furloughed producers or fired producers. And recently, I guess he was brought back. He was actually the first guy that was part of WWE's concussion lawsuit against them. Brought back as a producer, and I can only assume that's because he has a close relationship with Pat Patterson, who reportedly discovered him back when Sylvain was an exotic dancer, according to reports. But anyways, he's working for Impact now as a French announcer. So I don't think they used to air on the French sports station RDS. Impact did. I don't know if they're still on there or not, but they made an announcement today that Sylvain Grenier has joined their announce team, which can only make a person assume that he's no longer a producer for WWE. In NWA news, as you know, I'm now an affiliate of the NWA. I interviewed a young lady on here earlier this week that won her match on Tuesday night. And in the next few days, it hasn't been exactly set yet, but Chris Masters is going to be starting to appear on the NWA United Wrestling Network Tuesday night pay-per-views. And to promote his appearance on this coming Tuesday's pay-per-view, he will be doing an interview with me. So stay tuned to that. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. And if you go to thehannibaltv.com or you go to the description of this video and you click on my NWA affiliate link to buy their pay-per-views, you'll actually be helping me out. And speaking of the NWA, I did post a clip from my interview with Ksenia, the Russian Diamond, where she was suggesting that because I dislike Nick Aldis so much, and apparently he's not very popular in Russia either, she was suggesting to me that I should actually make a challenge to Nick Aldis similar to the challenge I made to Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes didn't have the balls to fight me. And she says maybe Aldis will, and maybe it'd be fun coming to the United Wrestling Network with Ksenia, the lovely Russian Diamond, managing me. I don't know. The fan reaction to it was very positive. They'd like to see me whoop his ass. Some Aldis fan actually said Aldis would stretch you, Hannibal. And I actually looked it up. Nick Aldis's background prior to being a wrestler was he was a swimmer and a bodybuilder. My background prior to being a wrestler was being an amateur wrestler, where I was state champion twice. I was national champion. I was on the national team. And I was even an Olympic trials silver medalist. So I would love to see Nick Aldis even just try to stretch me. It would never happen. Alessandro says Cody Rhodes sucks. I agree. By the way, he's one of the bookers for AEW. Just like Aldis is one of the bookers for NWA. Aldis is a champion. Cody Rhodes is back champion. I mean, Jim Ross said it time and time again. You shouldn't make bookers active wrestlers because they're always going to put their self as champions. Media Palace says the Marty Jannetty interview was gold. Thank you. Sam Lentz says all Luther did was botch. The whole match was a joke. And as I've said on here, people tell me every week, this fat, washed up, complete loser, the only reason he has a job is because of Chris Jericho, calling himself the original Death Dealer. Somebody book me an MMA match with that washed up fucking loser. I'll knock him out. MK said that ending to AEW was literally the ending to Saturday Night Live. The show is a joke. Tom Gibney Jr. says the Marty Jannetty interview was hysterical. Sam Lentz making a joke about Sly. Well, apparently he's not with WWE. And I don't know how much pull Pat Patterson even has in WWE anymore. I think he's in his 80s, and from what I understand, he has the beginning stages of dementia. And as you guys mentioned, Cody, I'm so pissed because this is not a zit. Where is this fucking thing? This thing on my head is from the beer bottle I smashed on my face for that Cody Rhodes promo that actually scared him. And now I'm left with a fucking scar on my head. By the way, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm interviewing Teddy Long. Stay tuned for that. Underdog, how is superstar Billy Graham doing? He actually messaged me yesterday because he saw that post that I reported on of Braun Strowman taking a picture of himself in a towel, trying to make himself look sexy, and then he's got the steroid needle on his counter, which he claims is for B12 shots, which, by the way, Billy Graham even told me this himself. I guess if you mix B12 with steroids, supposedly the steroids will absorb better. So he may be using it as an excuse. I don't know. For all I know, he could have been just taking B12. I do know that in WWE, testosterone replacement therapy is allowed in a lot of cases. Ryback spoken publicly about it. So he could be like under legal doctor testosterone replacement therapy, which is testosterone is basically steroids. Now, I'm no doctor, though, by the way, but steroids, there's multiple kinds. Some of them are testosterone. Testosterone replacement therapy is also testosterone. Louis says Luther is freaking terrible. That was like one of the worst like, I'm sorry, I've barely seen any AEW because I'm not a fan of it. And watching that, the only reason I watched it was because my friend said it was so bad. And it truly was. My friend's exact quote was, "This guy has no business in a wrestling ring, let alone on international television in a main event." Arborations says, "I would destroy all this." That is true. That is definitely true. Wrestler says a Chavo Guerrero interview would be cool. He wasn't very cool when I met him. He didn't want to do an interview. He actually didn't seem like a very cool person at all when I met him in Montreal a few years ago. Corpse gives me the thumbs up. Larry finds the pocket guy so lame. I'm just not a fan. As I said, even though I don't like Nick Aldis, I do see some potential with this NWA and this United Network, Wrestling Network thing. There is potential in that, but I would like to see a new champion for sure. Terry doesn't know why he subscribed. This is a pro wrestling and MMA YouTube channel. We interview wrestling legends, up-and-coming stars, and MMA legends, as well as fighting legends like David Leduc, the Lithway fighter, which is bare-knuckle Muay Thai with headbutts allowed. And he's joining me Sunday at 4 p.m. for a second interview. Sonny Ono, who some of you guys might know from WCW, who is a martial artist, has told me flat out he believes Dave Leduc is the most dangerous pound-per-pound fighter in the world. And Boss Rutan puts him over. And I just interviewed Boss Rutan last week. So probably if there's one guy that I want with me, and coincidentally he lives in my town too, if there's one guy that I'd want backing me up in a fight, it would be David Leduc. Carlos says, I heard Montreal is going into lockdown again. We hear today, by the way, this is wrestling news, Florida is opening up. You can have packed stadiums again now in Florida, 60,000 people, full arenas if you want to. Mind you, from what I understand, AEW is having problems even getting 300 fans into their building, and they've been able to accommodate for more than that, but they've been having real issues moving tickets. But yeah, Canada has less cases than the US, but they've put further restrictions on us. Like this week, you can only work out at my gym 1 hour a day now. So it is freezing cold out. I've had to cut down my workouts to 1 hour and doing more outside, doing more in my basement, in my fighting area down there. But it sucks that they're restricting us more, and yet Florida, where there's a hell of a lot more cases, they're now opening up football stadiums. Joe Fo would have loved to have seen me versus Cody. It's never going to happen. He is a coward. I'll mull over the Aldis thing some more. But the prospect of having the Russian Diamond managing me and then giving her the title after I win it to take back to Russia would be very funny. Scott Hall interview, possible. Trevor C says Marlins baseball is already selling playoff tickets. Yeah, you're allowed to have full arenas again there. So I'll be back at 7 p.m. with the Godfather, Teddy Long. It will be live, and I will be taking fan questions. Have a good night.